Anytime now. Anytime now. There we are. I see us. And we are live. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 157, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this perfectly normal Wednesday with absolutely nothing weird going on at all.
Nothing. It's pretty much a normal Wednesday, like any other Wednesday.
Just another Wednesday in November.
Yep.
Yep. If you have never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. This is a family-friendly show in both language and content. We do drink alcohol on the show, so be aware of that. But again, we keep everything friendly.
Yes.
If you are drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we will give some early show shout-outs as we go along. And if you want to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, consider joining the Patreon or Float Plane. Links are down in the video description. Minimum donation of $1 gets you access to the exclusive Discord server. You can chat with myself, John, Steve, Rhett, all the toast. Again.
Yeah.
All the toast.
You can chat with us while eating toast.
That's right.
You can chat with
I like toast.
I like toast too.
Yeah, toast.
It's so good.
All the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the ever-growing and awesome community that's happening over there. You can also catch us on replay on Anchor FM in podcast form or wherever your favorite podcasts are found.
Well, we got some drinking coffee. Dave's Craft Strawberry Lemonade. Ooh, that's a rare one.
Yeah.
What else?
Let's see. Hey, right on time. Yes, we are, because John's not here. I just finished a blueberry crumble from Little Beaver Brewery.
Ooh, blueberry crumble.
Little Beaver Brewery.
Little Beaver.
I swear I have not drank yet today.
Yeah.
I just can't talk, apparently.
Coffee and buttered toast man. No, it's powdered toast man from Ren and Stimpy. It wasn't buttered toast man. It was powdered toast man. Powdered toast man.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Not too bad.
Good. I had a rough day. Video will be out tomorrow, but apparently I'm an idiot, and it cost me almost $2,000.
Oh, that is a bad day.
That was my day.
Yeah, this wasn't anything to do with the sub pump that you were talking about earlier last week.
No. No, this is all related to a video project that I've been working on for quite some time, and I bought some incompatible parts and then did something really stupid on something else.
Yes,
and found something that was also not compatible, and so I'm going, yep. I got bit pretty hard. Didn't do research. Didn't do enough research.
Well, you can always resell. I mean,
yep.
Get some money back.
That's the plan. So, new expensive idea shield? No, it's the same one. it's the same project.
Yeah, ongoing.
Yeah, I spent more money on the same project, and this time I'll come right out and say it. So I checked to make sure that you could run an EPYC 7601 CPU with non-registered memory, because some server chips you can, some server chips you can't.
Yeah.
I did verify that you can run that particular CPU with non-registered memory. I went, cool. So I ordered $450 worth of memory to get 128 gigs, 3600 megahertz, because I went, I'll use it in the server, and then I'll use it in some other projects as we go along. It's good memory. It's always nice to have around. Unfortunately, I didn't check the motherboard for compatibility, because the motherboard won't boot without registered ECC memory.
Yeah. No. So did you have to get a new motherboard, or you wouldn't? You're gonna try to keep in the RAM? What are you gonna do?
Well, you'll have to watch tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'll watch.
I'm not gonna give it away.
All right.
You'll have to watch tomorrow.
Oh, the suspense! So suspenseful. It's a cliffhanger.
Let's see. Budney drinking a Ninkasi Otis oatmeal stout. That's a fantastic one.
That is a good one. Yeah. Had that one many times.
Yep. RTX 3090? Nope, unfortunately wasn't an RTX 3090.
No. I still can't find any 3000 series cards for sale.
And I didn't break anything. It just
Yeah.
didn't work the way I wanted it to work.
Yeah.
And it was a quite expensive mistake to not do research on.
Yeah.
So I was an idiot. I was an idiot twice.
Gotta use that PC part picker.
Yep. I don't think they would have helped me here.
I don't think they would have had that listed on there.
Not on this one.
No.
Anyway, what are we drinking tonight, Steve?
All right, so I have my 3 beers. I got from Great Notion Brewing. So Wrong It's Ripe. Great Notion is
That's
local.
a great name.
It is. I kind of chuckled at it. So Great Notion is a local brewery here in the Pacific Northwest in Portland, and they make excellent hazies. They make excellent pastry stouts, and they make excellent sours. Probably really sought after for traders. Then this one, I have a C'est la Saison. I said it with the French accent, the proper way.
C'est Saison.
It is a Chardonnay barrel-aged Saizon. And I got this one in Colorado somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah. And I have BA20 by Oscar Blues. It is a bourbon barrel-aged stout with toasted almonds and Madagascar vanilla beans.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
we have similar beers tonight then.
We do, yeah.
So I am drinking we'll call it beer 2 in the series, but it's technically version 1. This is Shakopee, Herd of Turtles. This is an imperial stout loaded with pecan, cocoa nibs, and vanilla, and this is the barrel-aged variant. Barrel-aged variant number 1. I also have number 2 in the fridge. I'm going to be drinking this tonight, and that's probably it.
Yeah, that's a lot to drink by yourself.
12.1%, and it's something like 29 ounces. It's a bomber.
Yeah, it's
a big one.
Wow.
So
It's 29 ounces, not 22?
Yeah, no, it's not 22.
Oh, so it's a little bigger even.
It's the 1.9 ounce bottle.
Do you so you're going to have to like double pour. You're going to have to pour half.
Yeah, no, it's going to be pour an entire pint and then pour another, half to 3/4.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna take you a while.
It's a good one.
All right.
So let's get these things opened, and then we will get into it.
I'm gonna start off with the So Wrong It's Ripe.
All right.
Oh man! Right as soon as you crack that open, it's like grapefruit flavor, and I forgot to say that this one is a hazy IPA with honey. It's made with honey too.
Oh.
So it's probably going to have some slight mead type flavors. Yeah. Oh, also, I got to tell you this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a regretful purchase because it was still really good and really tasty, but I paid way too much for it. So I had some friends from out of town. They're from Southern California, and the beer selection down there isn't great in LA. It's okay, but I mean, so we took them to our local John's Marketplace, which has just like, it's just a giant beer paradise over there.
I love John's Marketplace.
I know, it's awesome. And so we were going there with our shopping carts, and we're like looking for beers and stuff like that. And we grabbed a bunch of them, and I came across this mead. It was a peanut butter and jelly mead, which I had never seen before. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I went and looked it up on Untappd, and it's like really rated high and everything like that. And I looked at the price tag. It was $45 for a 22-ounce bottle of this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I got friends in town. I kind of want to impress them. It's like, all right.
Oh, so you actually got it?
I got it. I went and bought it. We polished it off in one night. Oof. That was like, I usually spend that much on like some whiskey or something like that, not on a mead. But it was good. I mean, it wasn't $45 good, but it was good. And right. it did have that peanut butter
strawberry jelly
with that kind of sweet honey. Oh, it was really good, but nice. I don't know, man. I still kind of hurts. It's gonna hurt for a while.
And by the way, thank you to Novella Hub for sending this beer over, as well as the other 2 Herd of Turtles, and literally half of my fridge, I think, right now is Novella Hub, because he sent me a bunch of bombers and 32-ounce cans, some growlettes, And right around the time that, this whole thing happened and we couldn't do in-person shows anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And people think I like to drink a lot, and sometimes I do. But even I have limits, and cracking a 32-ounce can feels a little weird.
Yeah. I know. I have a bunch of bombers that I'm just waiting to share because I can't drink them myself. It would be too much.
Yeah, I finally got tired of looking at some of the bombers at the bottom of my fridge. So I'm like, you know what?
Right.
If I have one,
go power through it.
Over 2 or 3 hours, so be it.
Yeah.
So, and then Mason says, "Wait, so Craft Computing literally gets paid to make tech videos and drink beer? Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sweet gig, right?"
Yeah. Now you know why you wanted to go full time so bad, because that's literally what it is.
This is literally my job now.
Yeah. Oh God, it's so rough. Well, but you do end up making $2,000 mistakes along the way too. So whatever. Yeah.
You had to bring that back up.
Well,
I had almost forgotten about it.
Well, you keep drinking that beer, you will forget about it.
And there it goes again.
Oh, is it good?
Oh. Yes. I think I did that same reaction to the first one.
Yeah.
Because I had the first one 2 weeks ago. And it was quite good then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's going to be a good evening for you then.
It's going to be a really good evening.
So you're drinking your dessert is basically what you're doing.
Yeah. Amazingly enough, no head on this beer.
Yeah. It looks like none.
I poured it and that's what I got.
Yeah. I got quite a bit on this one. You can't really tell because I got my Talking Heads drinking mug. But yeah, that's quite a bit on this one. But it's IPA. You kind of expect that. Yeah, this is kind of what I expected too. It's kind of big, juicy IPA, but it kind of has that sweet mead flavor at the back end. So it's pretty good. It's good. It's not the best hazy IPA I've had from Great Notion, but it's kind of up there.
Sorry, I had to respond to Discord real quick.
All
right. So let's go ahead and get into the news.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So first off, a little bit of Microsoft and Windows news. I don't know about you, but I've kind of felt Windows 10 has been kind of stagnant a little bit in its UI design.
It's been 5 years actually. Windows 10 is 5 years old. Yeah.
And you can even go back to Windows 8.1 back to 2012.
And the interface
with
is
the same
similar.
Basic UI design.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been 8 years. If you look at Apple, Macintosh or macOS has been, pretty much the same basic look since around 10.4 or, around the 2006 ish era. 2006, 2007, I want to say that came out. OS looks have kind of finally solidified, cemented into what they are.
Yep.
But Microsoft has said, not so fast, my friend, because they're actually planning on reinvigorating the Windows 10 UI experience sometime in the next year.
Yes, exactly. And I actually kind of love the internal name of it. They call it Windows 10 plus plus.
Yes.
It's not the official name. The official name is Sun Valley, but internally they're calling it Windows 10 plus plus. I kind of like that. I think it's funny. But yeah, it looks like next year there's going to be some really major updates to top level interfaces, like the start menu, which I'm super happy about. I kind of don't like the start menu, like you said before.
Right.
They got those little tiles on the side, which are kind of useless. I mean,
the live tiles are a joke.
Yeah, no one uses them, and it's kind of like you said, reminiscent of 8.1.
Right.
And I guess the person who headed up the Surface division, who did the Windows 10 X interface for the Surface, is doing this one. So I would probably expect they're kind of going to implement some of those into.
I just hope they don't forget what a mouse is.
Yes, I know. I
And
saw
that
some.
people have them, and that's
Yeah.
what they have.
Yes, and that's what primarily people use. They don't use styluses or touch their screens, and
That's why Windows 8 was such a disaster, is you needed a touch screen to operate it.
Yeah.
Well, just swipe from the right. You can't swipe with a mouse.
Yeah, I know. There's still a server that at my work that has Windows Server 2012 on there, and that had the same type of menu, and I hate it.
2012 was an abysmal operating system.
I did not like that. I don't like that server. Yeah.
Mainly because the only way to shut down a Windows Server 2012 is to CLI shut it down. You had to go into the command prompt and shut down -T0. Because they removed the UI element to shut down the server. It's not in the start menu. It's not in the right click on the start menu. It's not an option anywhere. It's not in the Control-Alt-Delete. It doesn't exist.
I think they had that also in earlier builds of Windows XP. When you remoted into it, they had disabled the shutdown if you were, because it detected that, oh yeah, you're remoting.
Right, it would say disconnect instead.
Yeah, it would say disconnect, and you had to do the same thing. You had to go do the command prompt shutdown to get it to shut down, actually, which was always annoying. But
sorry, apparently the little one is wired tonight. And, so my wife just came in and locked the door.
Oh, just in case, yeah.
So we don't get an unexpected guest again on the show. Yeah, she got up about an hour into the show last night, and I'm really hungry.
Well, all I got is beer in here, kid.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to give them some beer. No, I'm going to help them sleep, though. You know.
Right.
Especially that beer you got right now.
Right out. Right. So.
Yeah. Looks like it's gonna come out
second half of next year.
Second half of next year.
Yeah. They're expecting it with the 21.2H update, which is the half two or second half update.
Yeah.
I hope they think about this long and hard, and I hope they actually design an interface that is intuitive instead of designing an interface that just looks pretty.
Yeah.
Because, and no offense to the great minds at Star Trek, but they literally tried to make Windows 8.1 or Windows 8.0 look like LCARS.
Yes,
and that was your launching platform, and it was supposed to be a touch operated system. And in practice, those type systems have always been abysmal. They've never worked because they're not intuitive.
Visually looking nice, but not intuitive, not production wise anyway.
Right.
Hence why I don't like tiles, because they take up space and I don't use them. It's not intuitive at all.
I have the tiles removed on every single computer I own.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yep. I have a script that kills them.
That kills the tiles?
Yep. Actually, I might do a video on that, on the script that kills the tiles, and then how to even prevent them from coming back.
Yeah, there was, I think, I haven't done it with this because I just recently installed it like about a month ago, but my previous Windows 10, there was a utility you just install it and you're like, no, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, just remove it.
There's Classic Start, which is a, who makes that? Same people to make window blinds. And, and a couple,
Stardock.
Stardock, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make a program called Classic Start, and I guess it works pretty well.
Yeah.
But no, I just use straight up Windows and use, I hate to say it, but PowerShell to eliminate a lot of the problems.
PowerShell's, it's powerful. That's what they call it, PowerShell.
It's powerful, but who the hell wrote that thing? Yeah, that's always been my problem with PowerShell, is the syntax.
Yeah, I don't like the syntax.
Is just awful.
I want to copy some files. Well, you got to do a file, blah, 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 blah. It's like,
right.
It's a little over verbose, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. There's legit like some Active Directory commands that I had to run that were like 7-word hyphenated commands.
Yeah.
And that was just the command. That wasn't the variables.
That wasn't the variables that you had to put in the end. Yeah,
but no, I had whole paragraphs one time to clear out or purge or do some other things, and because it's powerful, it's also really dangerous because one typo, if you say
you screwed up,
I had one script that I disallowed any of my techs to run, because if I run it and screw things up, then I have to get on the backup and fix it.
Yeah.
If you run it and screw something up, I'm going to be pissed because I have to get on the backup and fix it.
Yes.
Basically it was purging out temporary users. And it would nuke an OU and then recreate it with all new passwords, with all new temporary passwords, reset all the permissions, clear all the user folders. If you accidentally ran it one OU higher, it nuked the entire AD structure.
So everybody was, yeah.
You have to make sure it says / and then the OU you want, not not one level higher in the structure. Otherwise, it won't stop.
Yeah, it'll keep going.
It'll keep going.
Killed all your users.
As long as I was there, we never messed it up. But there was always that risk of, oops.
Well, when you left, did you document that? Let's hope. Okay.
I documented everything.
All right, good. Let's see what happens. I haven't called you about it, so.
Yep. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it to see what new things coming out. So we'll see.
Dumping on PowerShell, unsubscribed. Good riddance then. Get out of here.
Dumping on PowerShell. I love PowerShell.
No, I don't like PowerShell.
I like PowerShell. I use PowerShell a lot. In fact, I love this, just being able to write SQL scripts within PowerShell and then just fire it off when I'm distributing stuff.
That is true, and because it's meant to be a remote management tool, and it's supposed to help you leverage, not needing to click 30 things to get to a submenu option that you need to modify. It's just send the command and go. Yeah. It is powerful. It does everything. It can affect everything inside of Windows, even things that UI elements don't exist for. Yeah. It's insanely powerful. The problem is the verbosity of it and the syntax and how they put all the commands together. None of it seems to be standardized. There's do I want to allow scripts to run? That's a command that you have to do, and it's execute script blah, 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 blah. It's like 4 words, but they're not hyphenated. Whereas some of the commands are hyphenated between the words. Yeah, but this one is not hyphenated. I think it's 3 or 4 words, and they're not short words. Yeah. And then you have different weird variables at the end of it, like you have authenticated, unrestricted, or restricted, or like different levels, and they all mean different things. And there's documentation for what all those options are.
But you have to go look up the documentation for it.
You have to look up the documentation for what each of the variables does, and you also have to. It's not the same variable for that command as it is for another command that does a very similar thing. And so it seems it was like probably 90 people put PowerShell together and none of them talk to each other. They're just like, well, I can make this thing do this.
I wouldn't doubt that at all. That's Microsoft for you.
Right. I mean,
it's different teams Microsoft. Working on different things, and they're like, there's no between the teams, there's no standardized naming conventions and how you do it. They're just like, here's this tool, implement what you're working on into PowerShell.
Right. So
because the syntax for using SQL in PowerShell is way different than like the standard one. It's pretty short, in fact, but it's completely different than some of the other stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can't outright say that I absolutely hate PowerShell. I wish it was more friendly and easier to learn, because everything in Linux and Bash is all standardized. There's no confusion on what does what and what command does what and what your variables are at the end.
And it being open source, you would think it'd be more of a mishmash, but they actually got it down pretty good.
They've actually got it down pretty darn solid. Yeah. And going from Bash to PowerShell is literally speaking another language. And yeah. So, yeah. PowerShell ISE. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in PowerShell ISE. It doesn't mean I like it. All right. Moving on.
Moving on.
Boy, Steve, you were alive for this launch, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Sorry. So I was not, but Steve was. So Voyager 2.
I was like, I think I was 2.
Yeah, you were 1 or 2 or something like that. Yeah. So anyway, Voyager 2, a spacecraft that left Earth in the 70s, basically to explore the edge of the solar system. They wanted to send something out, get rudimentary images and telemetry from a couple of different planets beyond the asteroid belt. I believe they flew by Saturn. They also flew by Neptune, as well as was it Triton, one of the moons of Neptune?
Yeah.
And collected a whole bunch of very valuable information for NASA. And sometime in the, I want to say early 2000s, it actually left our solar system. And it's been traveling in space now for 43 years. Well, during that entire time, it has been in constant communication with Earth until right around 2011, 2012, it had drifted so far south that as far as orientation within our solar system and what they consider north, I don't know which direction is north, but it had drifted so far south that the 3 observatories on Earth that are supposed to keep track of it, there's one in the US, there's one in Spain, there's one in Australia. So the theory was that at any given time, they can look anywhere in the sky. The only one that could communicate with it was the one in Australia, and it can only do it in a 70-degree window at a certain time of day. Well, fast forward to 2015, or no, to March of this year. I don't know where 2015 came from. Fast forward to March of this year, and the site in Australia needed to go through a major renovation and rebuild, and so they shut down the communication with the legacy spacecrafts. They did the rebuild, and when was this? This was yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday, they sent, or a couple of days ago, they sent Voyager a signal, and yesterday they got a response back, and it responded to commands.
They're like, finally, somebody's talking to me. Yeah. Oh my God, I've been so lonely.
Right.
They only have like interstellar aliens that will trap them and change their name to Voyager.
Voyager. Or you can go Futurama and go Vagini.
Vagini, yeah, that's right.
South.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rick and Morty. You still use South in space? Yep. But yeah, so NASA sent a message to a 43-year-old satellite that's been adrift for that long, and yeah, they got a response back. Responded to commands, and it will continue sending telemetry data back based on pressure. It's going to analyze. It's been analyzing microparticles that pass through. And it's been doing this work since the 70s.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
and blasting Rolling Stone albums out into space.
Right.
That's a reference to what movie?
Rolling Stones.
It was the Voyager satellite, and it was playing the Rolling Stones. I can't get no satisfaction.
Yeah.
Come on.
You lost me.
Starman.
Me. Oh. Boy, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
That's some Voyager movie trivia crossover for you.
Yeah. This is delicious. I just have to say,
it's so good. It's impeding your memory.
It really is. It really is. Man, this is a good beer. I'm getting the pecan. I'm getting the vanilla. I'm getting the cocoa. I'm getting the bourbon. I'm getting every note that you should be getting out of this.
That's good.
And it's smooth. Certainly doesn't taste like a 12 and a half that it is. That's
dangerous right there.
Yeah. This is
it's gonna be a fun after party.
Mm-hmm. No, I have scotch for the after party.
Oh, you do? I got some.
Yeah.
I have some Basil Hayden's, some dark rye Basil Hayden.
Yeah, I've got some Highland Park Magnus.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite affordable single malts.
Cool.
It's $35. It has one of my favorite bottle designs ever, where it has a cork that still has a thread on it, and so you can lock the cork in place. Oh,
Nice.
it's cool. It's a cool bottle.
I like the smooth cork too, because I just like that sound you make when you pull it off. I just like that.
No, so it has a cork with like a lid on it, and the lid is threaded on top, just like a little quarter turn. And
okay.
so you still you turn the top a quarter turn, and then you still get the
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a good bottle to have.
Okay.
Very good bottle to have.
I'll have to go pick some up.
All right. A little bit of Nvidia rumors happening.
Yes.
Happening rumors / maybe confirmed / who knows.
Yeah.
I think we're going to call it a rumor. Because I've only seen a single source on this. But we know at some point the either RTX or GTX 60, 50, whatever other cards are going to be coming sometime.
Yeah.
Well, there is indeed a rumor that the RTX 3060 and RTX 3050 Ti not only already exist, but are already for sale.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
So this was posted right around noon today. So 8 or 10 hours ago. And the rumors started yesterday that both cards will be based on the GA106, so the Ampere 106 core, which is different from the 3070 and 3080 series. It will have 3,840 CUDA cores, and the RTX 3050 Ti will have 3584. So they're actually going to be fairly close, which is, I mean, usually there's a wider gap between 50 Ti and the 60 series. And that doesn't seem to be the case here. So you might be talking 10% or less difference between the two cards as far as performance goes. Rumored to have 6 gigabytes of GDDR6. But the interesting thing comes from this Twitter post right here. So if I open this guy up.
Yeah.
So first, I clicked on this image and I went, that could be easily photoshopped, and it's a low-res photo. I don't know if it's quite clear around there, and there's a little weird dark green shading right there. The box doesn't quite look, uniform. Like, the markers for Photoshop. That
it's got some compression over,
Then they show off this, which is an actual video. That's a little harder to fake.
Yeah. Not impossible, but it seems like a little far gone for just
That's a little harder to fake. So apparently these were already on retail shelves and for sale at sv-comp.com. Now, I did go to that website, and I was going to buy one if it was out. I'll pay whatever shipping if I can get my hands on it.
Yeah.
But they are not currently listed on the website, even though there's claims that they are listed on the website. I couldn't search for them. I couldn't browse for them. I could not find them. But those are pretty exacting rumors about which core it's going to be using, how much memory, how many CUDA cores.
Very specific.
Right. I think we know that they exist.
Yeah.
So, and Novella Hub is chiming in saying it is more dangerous than a 12.1. The ABV was before the barrel aging.
Yes. Well, I mean, the barrel aging, it's gonna add a tiny bit. Not that
it can add a marginal amount, right?
Yeah, it can add a marginal amount. Yeah.
It can add a couple of percentage points.
Yeah.
Or a couple of
point
percentage
points. Yeah.
A couple of tenths.
Yeah. Still cranks it up just a little bit. You can always just really crank it up and just pour some straight bourbon in there.
I don't think it needs it.
No, it probably doesn't.
It's good. It's really good.
I've actually never tried that before. got a good bourbon barrel aged beer,
Spiking a stout with a bourbon.
Just spike a little extra bourbony goodness in there.
You'd have to have the right bourbon, because the aging, the barrel aging in the stout is a different flavor profile than the barrel aging for a bourbon. It just is.
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely is, and I agree with you there. I'm just saying, blending wise, just to try it. I've never done it. I probably should, but
I can't say I've never done it, but I think I was a stupid college kid.
Just like, let's mix these two together.
Like adding like Canadian Velvet to like a Mike's Hard Lemonade kind of crap.
Yeah.
Or Black Velvet. Yeah.
I've done that before. I'm just like, what do I got left?
Right.
All right. Let's take some Gold.
Let's crank the ABV up on this a little bit. Yeah. That's the last time I can remember doing anything like that.
Yeah.
That and the Myers rum and the milkshake.
Well, there was also the Myers rum and the milkshake's awesome.
That was delicious.
It's so good. What was it? Early on in the Talking Heads, you guys were doing user requests. You and John.
Don't.
It was what was it? It was
peppermint schnapps and tequila.
Peppermint schnapps and tequila. That's why you guys stopped doing that right after that.
Yep.
It's like Mexican toothpaste.
Yeah. I remember the exact reaction I had too, because I'm like, I hate tequila. I love peppermint schnapps, but like added to coffee or hot cocoa or something.
Yeah.
Like that's how I drink it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I still have that same bottle of tequila, because I don't drink tequila. I just have it around for whenever, friends come over and they're like, do you have any like tequila drinks?
Yeah.
I got one bottle.
Yeah.
But and I don't have friends that drink tequila either.
I like a good tequila, but I'm not big on it.
But I remember my reaction, because I'm going, oh, this is going to be bad. Oh, this is going to be bad. Oh, this is going to be bad. And I took the shot and I'm bracing for it, and I went, not as bad as I thought. It's bad, but not as bad as I thought it was. It was going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing like an 18-year-old bourbon mixed with Bud. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I think, didn't John try that on one of his videos where he tried to do a bourbon barrel-aged Budweiser? He took some bourbon-soaked staves and aged it.
Yeah.
I don't know. He does all kinds of weird stuff.
It doesn't end well. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know when we're going to get the 3060 Ti.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
Or 3060 and 3050 Ti.
Yeah.
3060 Ti or whatever other SKUs. There's a 3080 Ti in talks now that's going to be 12% faster than the 3080, because the 6900 XT was announced by AMD, and they've got to compete.
The article is saying that the 3060 Ti is rumored to launch on December 2nd.
Yeah.
Of this year.
I've heard that.
But
Yep. But we've also heard rumors that the 20 gig variants were canceled, and the 20 gig variant of the 3080 was a 3080 Ti, because it had an increased CUDA core count.
Yeah.
Or they could just pull the Titan X versus Titan XP, where you bought a Titan X with 12 gigs of RAM and Pascal and everything else, named the same as the Titan X Maxwell card, which also had 12 gigs of RAM, and then go, we should probably differentiate these. Tell you what, we'll call it the Titan XP, and we'll give it 300 more CUDA cores. Because they've done that before.
Nice.
Nothing irritates me more than SKU overload.
Oh, yeah. And Nvidia is completely guilty of that.
And they're completely, especially the last two generations.
Yes, especially the last two generations.
The 1070 Ti late launch, I can understand that one. I can understand the 1053 gig and the 1055 or 1065 gig. Those were kind of special market. The 1065 gig was slated for China as a Chinese only release. And the 1053 gig was just we have weird extra parts. So here's a $150 card that's better than the $150 card you were already getting.
Yeah.
I understand those.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is segmenting your $1,500 wide market every $50.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It leads to consumer confusion.
Yeah, it does.
Right. Well, should I get this variant of this card or the higher variant? But then MSI and Gigabyte have like extreme versions. Yeah. But is the extreme version of the base card better than the super edition of the?
Hey,
it's impossible to answer.
It is, but it kind of keeps people like you busy. And
it's true.
You're like, hey, we got all these. Let's read up all these different combinations and test them.
Yep. So if only I had a 3000 series card to play with.
I still haven't given you one yet, huh?
No. I've been calling.
Yeah.
I'm calling and calling. Someone tweet Nvidia and get their attention, please.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. All right, what's next? So I said no politics, and this has to do with something that was on a ballot measure, but I promise you this is probably a bipartisan issue, especially because it passed. And it's something that we've talked about on the show multiple times, and that is right to repair. So Massachusetts just passed a pretty aggressive right to repair bill, and it's aimed at the auto industry. Now, the auto industry has been one of the better, more compliant industries out there because there are U.S. consumer protection laws for you have to provide schematics. You have to sell parts at a reasonable rate. You have to allow aftermarket parts. You have to do this. You have to do that. There's all these stipulations on what car manufacturers can do and can't do post-sale. There's also regulations on what they have to do post-sale. And so it is a fairly regulated industry and fairly mature industry. However, some auto manufacturers were starting to find some loopholes, especially when it comes to the electronic maintenance of your car.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, automakers have to follow what's called the OBD2 standard. OBD2 is the little port that's under your dash that they plug in to pass your DEQ or check your engine light. And the reason that port exists, and the reason it's on every car in the driver's side bay, is because of a legal requirement to have your car with an open standard be scannable and serviceable by anyone who happens to have that device. And it can be any device because it is an open standard. And
you can buy those devices on Amazon too. They're like
$20.
Yeah,
you can read the OBD on your car. You can clear warning lights. You can do all kinds of stuff. I recently did quite a bit of work on my 350Z and got a couple of warning lights. And one of them was just like an O2 sensor that was reading false because I put a new exhaust on it. And once the computer learned the new exhaust, it didn't care. But I had a warning light popped up, cleared it out, good to go. Anyway, automakers have been starting to get around this by having specific computer components on their car, either on the ECU or body control or traction, some other computer in the car, not needing to communicate with the OBD2 port and instead being a wireless transmission to dealer-only receivers to read certain codes. And so they were locking out independent repair shops. Well, like I said, in a pretty aggressive bill, Massachusetts has passed the right to repair expansion to open up car electronic data. This is very similar to the OBD2 requirement, but by 2022, any auto sold in the state of Massachusetts will require all automakers to open up the infrastructure required to either read the wireless information that's coming out or provide an open source port that is universal. So they need to agree on a standard here pretty quick of basically an upgraded OBD2 port. And this comes into effect January 1st, 2022.
That's coming pretty quick. They got to come up with a standard.
Right.
Yeah.
And usually once one state passes, all the other states fall like dominoes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
there's, electronic cars are being sold everywhere and everybody's got a repair shop.
Everyone's got repair shops.
Yep.
Not only that, but automakers aren't going to make specific models just for Massachusetts.
Yeah.
They're going to make one standard model and sell them everywhere because economy of
cheaper.
scale.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to engineer something special just for the Massachusetts market. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
And so it's weird that Massachusetts is getting the ball rolling because usually it's California. Usually California passes a law and then it becomes federal law. Is how things work.
You probably wish it was California because after drinking that stout, saying Massachusetts over and over again is getting hard for you to say that. You're just Massachusetts.
Yeah. Sorry, my 3-year-old just all of a sudden started yelling and singing in her bed.
Oh, okay.
I'm in bed.
That's
I don't know what's going on in there.
No, my son likes to sing TNT from AC/DC in bed. He'll be there in bed like, I'm TNT dynamite. He sits there and sings that at night.
DNT?
TNT from
TNT.
AC/DC. Yeah, TNT.
Yeah. So it's this is a pretty wide sweeping law that Massachusetts passed that will have an impact on you as a car owner somewhere in the United States and possibly globally, because typically automakers around the world usually follow US standards because they have to sell their cars in the US.
Yeah.
With rare exceptions. You have certain domestic manufacturers in China and India, and I think there's a couple in France that don't follow US standards and don't follow safety standards and diagnostic standards. But overall, as one state goes, the US goes, and as the US goes, the world goes. And so this is an absolute win for right to repair. Mm-hmm. Now to apply it to cell phones.
Yes, I know. This is only focused on cars.
And,
yes, if we can get it to move to other things. It's a small increment. We need it to go to electronics as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think that fight will be ramped up, especially now that Apple has been pushing the limits even further with the iPhone 12. That is one story that didn't quite make the cut this week, that apparently if you swap out any part in the iPhone 12, it will create random software bugs elsewhere in the system. Like if you swap out a camera, your camera app will stop responding to certain functions. A camera.
That's not good. A camera, yeah.
Right.
Not integral to the whole system of the phone.
Right. Yeah. But basically because everything is now encrypted by the T2 chip, it's great for security, but it's terrible for right to repair.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And I don't care how far Apple goes with, we're trying to be 100% green and zero waste by 2023 and stuff like that. Yeah, but you're also forcing forced obsolescence onto people with, number one, fragile phones, with number two, crap like this, where I can't buy a replacement camera and repair the camera.
Yeah.
Well, it's not user serviceable. Yeah, but it pops off. Any competent repair shop can handle this.
Of course. Yeah, I've seen that. I even repaired well, not this. I think was it Galaxy 8, I think. I found replacement because like my wife cracked the lens on her camera on her phone, and I found a replacement online. I was able to pop it out, put it back in. It was good.
Yep. Doesn't happen nearly as much as it should.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
Yep. Does eating Tillamook whiskey and maple frozen custard count as drinking along?
Tillamook whiskey?
Tillamook whiskey.
Tillamook whiskey. How's Tillamook ice cream? Tillamook cheese?
He says Tillamook whiskey.
I've been to Tillamook several times, but I've never seen a whiskey over there.
I don't know that there's a distillery in Tillamook.
I don't think so. There's
unless you know something that we don't, because I freaking love Tillamook, but I'm not aware of a distillery there.
DeGard is in Tillamook.
Yeah, DeGard is there. There's a distillery in Cannon Beach.
Yeah.
Tillamook whiskey. I've never heard of that before. And I've never heard Tillamook outside of the state of Oregon before.
Yeah.
Oh, whiskey ice cream.
Oh, Tillamook whiskey. Okay, I have had the Tillamook whiskey. Oh, I see. Tillamook whiskey and maple frozen.
Pendleton whiskey and maple frozen custard.
I thought
There
he was
it is.
eating. I thought I was eating maple frozen custard and had
Tillamook whiskey. That's what I thought too. Yeah.
Oh gosh, reading comprehension so hard.
It's a whiskey and maple frozen custard. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We
for
figured
clarifying.
it out. And it's Pendleton whiskey.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get some maple custard and a snifter of whiskey and I'm gonna try that now.
Got it. No, I've done whiskey and creme brulee before.
Yes. Yeah. That's pretty good. I do like
darn
that.
good.
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, whiskey mixes well with a lot of desserts actually, because it's got that kind of almost caramely flavor to it.
Yes.
And you put that with any kind of sweet stuff, it's so good.
Novella Hub says Tillamook is sold in Minnesota. Their cheese is delicious. Yes, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
So I had to spend a week in Wisconsin on business a number of years ago, and I'm from Oregon, and we have really good cheese here with Tillamook and a couple others that are right here in the local area. And I went to Wisconsin, and it was nothing but like, have you tried our cheese? I'm like, I've tried cheese, and ours is pretty good. And they're like, no, but you haven't tried Wisconsin cheese. It's like, yeah, but I've tried Tillamook cheese, and I noticed that's on your store shelf too.
Yeah. We have cows too, man. It's fine.
Yeah. No, Tillamook dairy is legendary.
It is. It's kind of funny. Like I was telling you, we had some friends visiting us last week from California, and they were going to stay with us for about a week. And we asked them, like, hey, you guys want us to pick you up anything? So when you're here, you can snack on something, whatever. The one thing that they request was a block of Tillamook cheddar cheese. Oh, you can't get that down there? Right. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's kind of hard to come by. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Safeway for $4.99 here.
Yeah, I know.
As a Californian who's also involved in the cheese wars, Tillamook is amazing. See?
There we go. Yeah, Tillamook is good. I mean, if you're gonna come up to Oregon and visit the Tillamook Cheese Factory, I would recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it right now because the whole cheese sample aisle is closed. You can't go there. But that's like the best reason why you want to go visit, because they have all their style of cheeses right there, and you can sit there and just.
And they're amazing.
They're good. We always come back with like bag of cheese curds or whatever. It's good.
Classic arrogant Oregonian response. Why try yours? You already have ours. I did try their cheese.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was cheese.
I've had some amazing cheeses from other places.
I've had worse cheese.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get better than Tillamook.
I mean, I like some more of the artisan cheeses and the cheeses that Tillamook doesn't make, Yeah. But yeah, it's just some of the standard cheeses is like you can't beat it. Yeah, cheese curds from the factories. The dill, they make a dill garlic cheese curd. It's so good. Oh, super awesome.
All right. Let's see. We do have a little bit of beer news to get to tonight.
We do. We actually have
a lot
of it because we had low on tech news but high on beer news, which is almost never happens. Like pretty much never happens.
Next on Craft Computing, pairing cheese and meats with beer and cocktails.
Hey,
Heck
dude.
yes.
Look
for that on the float plane.
We're gonna do a charcuterie board with beer and hot sauce.
I'm down.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm down.
You should see my fridge. My hot sauce collection exploded. Like,
oh, did it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was because I was saying, my friend.
That's how you spent your pandemic?
I did. I just hot sauce right in my face. But yeah, he likes hot sauces too, and so he just bought a whole bunch of them, and so like my fridge is like full of them now.
Loved the Bandon Cheese Factory when I lived in Coos Bay. I did have Bandon cheese before they were bought out by Tillamook, but no, they were very solid as well.
Yeah, Bandon cheese. I remember them. Yeah, They were good.
Hello from Idaho. Just got here. Hello.
Hey, Idaho.
Hey, neighbor.
Howdy ho. Well, yes, Idaho is neighbor.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho, good neighbor. Sorry. Howdy ho, good neighbor.
That's right.
Kids these days don't understand that reference.
No, yeah, I know.
Gosh.
That's
Damn
not that
kids
old.
and
It's
your
like
SpongeBob's.
it's like 90s. It's
I
not that
know.
old. Yeah.
Doesn't feel that old, but Steve, that was 25 years ago.
I know. Don't remind me.
Ugh. All right. So, beer news.
Yes.
Firestone Walker.
Yes, Firestone Walker. So every year, Firestone does a anniversary. Yes, a very good thing, and the very thing unique about this anniversary beer is that it's not just a straight up bourbon barrel aged blah 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 blah. They actually put some real thought into this. They go and they contact these wine experts and winemakers, basically, and because they're more apt for blending and what flavors blend together, and they ask them to drink their beers and drink the different things and come up with a blended beer and put them together to make a beer. And blended beers seems to be like kind of an up and coming thing, I think.
It's been a thing for a while.
It's been a local thing,
but it's been a local thing. It's been you
Yeah.
go to a tap house and they're like, "Have you tried number 7 and number 32 together?"
Yes, exactly.
God,
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's so great. Yeah.
Right. So it's been a thing for a while, but all of a sudden, like in the last 2 months, I'm hearing of different breweries getting together
Yep.
and they're going, let's do a 50-50 or a 60-40 mix of these
Yes.
two beers
Yes.
and sell it as a special release collab.
Exactly what's going on. Yeah, because like
Right.
even if you go on, if you people who use Untap, so McMinimans is a local brewery restaurant place in the area. They have a thing what they call as the Rubinator, where they take their Terminator Stout and their Ruby Red Wheat and they mix them together for like a raspberry chocolatey stout, and it's good. It's like one of my favorite beers to drink. And it's on Untapped, even though they don't officially have it anywhere. There you go. If you go up to Annie McMiniman and say, "Hey, give me a Rubinator," it's never on the menu, but
Right.
they know what it is. So it's like it's a popular enough combination that they'll pour it for you. So blended beers is starting to come up, and so this new Firestone Walker, they finally released what their blend is, and it's of course all of their different beers. So they're going to have primarily the highest percentage, which is 27%, is their Velvet Merkin.
Can't buy it in Oregon. It's above 20.
Yeah.
Well, go to Washington for that stuff.
No, it's not 25% ABV. It's
Okay.
25% of the beer.
Gotcha.
Is the Velvet Merkin, which is
you got me all excited, Steve.
I'm sorry, it's not 27. I think it's like a overall. I think it's like maybe 11-12%. But
okay.
And then they also have a Sticky Monkey, which is their quad, which is aged in bourbon barrels. The Parabola, which I think a lot of people have had, which is aged in bourbon barrels.
Parabola is one of my favorite beers.
It is very good.
Firestone. I love getting that. I think I've had 5 or 6 of them over the years.
Yeah, and the first 3 blends kind of make sense. They're all bourbon barrel aged. They're stouts, quads, and another stout. Kind of makes sense. The next 3 are kind of the more interesting ones. They have a smoked Imperial Walker's Reserve, which is going to have some smoked malts to it. So it's going to be a slightly smoky, peaty flavor to it. And brown ale, which was aged
an
in bourbon
Imperial
barrels.
brown, 11% brown ale.
So you're going to add some of those nutty flavors to it.
Yeah.
And then the last one is a tequila barrel aged Horonado blonde barley wine.
4% blonde barley wine aged in tequila.
It's gonna be just a touch. And I know you like tequila. We just talked about you not liking tequila,
right?
But it's a barley wine in there, so I'm like, that'd be.
It's not that I don't like tequila. I don't like agave. Period.
Oh, okay. Well, it's
in general.
It's the smallest percentage in this thing, and it's the barley wine. So you're probably not gonna taste any agave in this thing. I
would probably try that one. I'm curious to try that one.
I'm curious to try it too, and
especially for a low ABV barley wine. It's like, I want to try that.
Yeah, it's something that was released, I think, recently. I think in the last 2 days. So you should be able to pick it up in different places.
Novella Hub says, "Show the bottle again." I did V1, correct? Yes, I did version 1 of the Shakopee Herd of Turtles.
Shakopee. All right. And next, speaking of blended beers,
Mm-hmm.
the next story, we have a new brewery. Well, yes, it's a new brewery coming from Chicago called Primary Colors. And the unique thing about this brewery is all the beers they have are blended. They're all
Yes.
blended beers. So the guy, and it's also kind of cool, if you look at the cans in the picture, they're 8-ounce cans. They're
Yep.
little tiny just tasters, which, hey, dude, I'm all for that. If I can get like a little tiny taster for like $2.50 and they sell
Right.
for $2.50 a piece, I'd be like, yeah, dude, I'd go for that.
Yeah, $2, $2.50. Get, that's what I'd pay at a bar for a flight of a good number of
Exactly.
beers.
Exactly. So I think, and you just get a good taste of it.
Mhm.
And I've never seen that sold in store, so I think this is be kind of curious to see if I can get some of these.
Yeah.
But that's all he does. So all of his beers are just blended beers, and he'll take like, here's a sour and here's a hazy, and he'll do stuff like that. And so they just opened up. And I think they're just limited to like the Chicago area. But if people who live out there can get their hands on some, I think that would be very, very fascinating to try some of this stuff, because it's a thought was put into like, this beer tastes okay, but this beer with this beer tastes amazing, right? And so they blend them together.
Right.
Because there's blending going on in all kinds of things. We blend whiskey, we blend wine, we blend everything. Not too many blended beers, except for, the anniversary from Firewalker, and then now these guys.
LW sends a super chat, $5, a little support for the $2,000 loss. Oh, thank you.
Oh, there you go. Hey.
Oh,
Now it's only $9,995 loss.
right. It still stings, but a little less. So, thank you. And I think Novella Hub sent me a. Yeah. Okay. He sent me a $5 super chat a little bit ago. I forgot to read that one. Beer for Jeff. Shakopee Brew Hall barrel aged herd of turtles, 2019 version 1, aged 1 year in Buffalo Trace. So this is a Buffalo Trace.
It's a Buffalo Trace one. Now I'm
Yep.
even more jealous.
Yep.
I do like Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace isn't my favorite bourbon.
No, it's not my favorite bourbon either, but it's kind of my go-to bourbon.
It's good.
It is good. It's like the one I can mix with it and I can drink it straight.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but for that I usually go Elijah Craig small batch. I think it's my favorite.
The Elijah Craigslist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have
just their Elijah Craig small batch. It's that I think is my favorite bourbon, because that one I feel has all the notes you're looking for in a bourbon when you're drinking it straight, and it's also a fantastic mixer if you're looking for something a little bit sweeter, a little bit darker.
It is a little bit sweeter and darker, yes.
Right. Whereas if I'm going rye, I want to go completely the opposite direction. Instead of like muddling the middle of bourbon and rye and all the different things. And so Bullet 95 is a great rye. There's also a number of straight ryes that I have up on my shelf. Rye is my number one spirit of choice.
I like rye too. I'm kind of that's why I have the Basil Hayden's rye.
Right. So when I go bourbon, I want to go completely into bourbon. I don't want a spicy bourbon or a light bodied bourbon. I want that body to it. I want the sweetness to it.
Okay.
So
kind of like a rye.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, you're getting tired now.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Gosh, when did I wake up? 6 this morning? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
the first so our big dog Ruby sleeps in the room with me, and usually somewhere in the middle of the night she'll get up and start snuggling with me. Our small dog is still kennel trained, and he sleeps that's Zeke, and he sleeps out in the living room and in his box. I call it a box. It's actually a very nice kennel, very well sized, and he's got a blanket and water and food, and like he's just living it up.
That's like an apartment in New York.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Rent is even cheaper.
Probably, yeah.
Actually, if anyone from New York wants to move in, we'll talk terms.
Well, cheap.
Yeah. For a while, Ruby started going like right at 7:00. It's time to wake up. I'm hungry. Get out of bed.
Yeah.
And that was probably like a 4 or 5 month stint. And then all of a sudden she's gotten a little bit lazy as the years worn on, and it's not brightening up quite as early. And so her clock's a little bit off. But this morning, Zeke at 6:00, he had to pee, he had to eat, he needed something. And so I just kind of cracked the door and I went, Zeke, it's 6:00, shut up. And then closed the door. It's like, you can live another hour, you're okay.
You're okay, yeah.
I did that, and less than 30 seconds later, the door opens, and Little Bit is in the door going, I awake!
Like, fine. I guess we're all awake.
Guess we're up.
Yeah.
because I had to get up, Ruby woke up, and as soon as I landed back in bed, Ruby was jumping onto my shoulder going, okay, it's time to get up. I saw you stand.
Yeah. Anybody with little kids know that as soon as the little kid's up, everybody's up.
Yep.
That's just pretty much how it is.
I guess we're up now.
Yeah, I guess we're up now.
Yep. Yep. So
yeah.
I've been up since 6. I'm a little sleepy, and this is
wonderful.
A really good day.
Yeah. Yes. So it's gonna be. I don't know how long the after party is gonna last with Jeff. He's gonna be like.
I'll catch a second wind once I start drinking scotch. It's okay.
Oh, okay. It's an energy. So you got the Gatorade version of scotch.
Yeah, I got the
the Red Bull and scotch.
Oh. I didn't think anything could ruin scotch for me, but there it is.
Hey, just be glad no one suggested that when you guys were doing shot suggestions.
Red Bull and scotch. I don't own Red Bull. I hate Red Bull.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, Red Bull's very disgusting.
I don't like energy drinks in general, but
I don't mind like a rock star and like maybe a gin or something. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
even
okay.
that.
Yeah. I need some uppers with my downers.
How would you like to reserve your own private igloo?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of an interesting concept. So this brewery in Virginia, I've never heard of them before, Stablecraft Brewing. They decided to put these igloos in their restaurant. So you can basically go out there and rent them in the middle of winter, because like Virginia's got some really cold winters. So you can still go and eat and drink and enjoy your beers in a private heated igloo. Now this was like, I thought this was a great idea because one of the tap houses that just opened locally to us was a place called Topwire, where they basically have a tap house in the middle of a literal hop farm. So you go there at the height of the hop harvest or hop growing and everything season, and you're surrounded by hops while you're drinking beer in the sun in the middle of summer. It was beautiful. It was like a really great venue. So these guys have taken that to the next level and like, well, what can we do in the wintertime or when it's cold and stuff like that, and we want people to have a unique experience like that. Hey, let's go put them in an igloo. They can sit there and hang out in this warm igloo while it's snowing outside and enjoy some beer and food while they're hanging out. I thought that was a pretty nifty idea. I wish they would adopt that in other places because it's cold around here. It gets kind of dreary. I think it would be awesome if they did this at like the Oregon coast, where people like storm watchers.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, you can get there on a nice rainy, windy day and just hang out in the igloo and drink beer. Yeah,
what's funny is the difference between Oregon and California is, number one, Oregon has, well, this isn't the difference, but Oregon has gorgeous summers where we have 4 months without a single cloud in the sky.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful here.
It's beautiful. It's green.
And it's not
sunny.
hot. It's like 85 to 95.
Yeah.
No rain, no chance of rain, low wind. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
The problem with Oregon is we have 8 months of rainy season.
You have a small, narrow window where you get that perfect weather.
You get that perfect weather. But when it decides to change back to rainy season, it's gone. It's done. It's over.
Great. Yeah. It's great.
But there's a lot of people in Oregon, me and my wife especially included, we will go to the beach to storm watch the storms coming in.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful.
And so we'll get, oceanfront, condos or suites or whatever, And most people are like, oh, who would want to go to the beach in like February when it's like storming and wet and rainy? No, it's great because you can see them coming in from 100 miles away and watch them roll over the beach and everything else. And it's great. You know,
I'll go outside,
sit by the fire with a scotch and read books.
I'll take out there with the scotch. I'll get my pea coat on and a pipe, and I'll hang out in the wind, just like, you know, like a sea captain or something.
Yep, I'll hang out on the balcony sometimes, you know, smoking a cigar, drinking a scotch, just watching it roll in.
Yeah, it's great. I know, because like my birthday's in November.
Yeah,
and there's been plenty of times because November is prime, you know, storm watching out there at the Oregon coast, and there's been several times we've gone out there just to like hang out and just like, you know, we're gonna be inside, we're gonna watch the weather and stuff roll in, and it's watch the waves crash against the rocks and No, many times my vacation has been around February. That's usually my downtime has been at work, and so we'll go spend a week on the coast in February and just rent a room and watch the storms all week. And, you know, eat good food and drink good beer. And the sea was angry that day.
Yeah,
I had several scotches.
Essentially.
Yes, I know. Essentially, yeah.
All right, let's get into a little bit of gaming news, shall we?
Sure.
And this story came out today, and I was immediately, it made me raise an eyebrow because I thought of something that I had never thought of before.
Oh yeah.
So let's get into the story first and foremost, and that is that according to the Gaming Leaks and Rumors Twitter account, the Black Ops Call of Duty Cold War will have a minimum 285 gigabyte storage requirement on the PS5.
Oh, yeah.
Let me say that crap again. 285 gigabytes.
That is huge.
That is 3 times the size of GTA 5. That is 2.5 times the size of Doom Eternal. That is 3 times the size of Fallout 4 for a multiplayer shooter. Now, one of the excuses or explanations that has been given for this is that, well, it takes an awful lot of compute resources to decompress audio so we can play it back, and that those CPU cycles were taking away from frame rates in gaming, and we didn't want to take anything away from the gameplay experience, but we still wanted to deliver high quality audio, and so we're delivering 100% uncompressed audio, which is where a lot of the file size is coming from. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I still call BS, but okay, if that's your explanation, that's fine.
Right.
Then today, literally as I'm reading this, I thought of another explanation, and forgive me, but I'm gonna put on my pointy metal hat.
Tinfoil hat.
My tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
How much money does Activision make from microtransactions?
Probably a lot.
Gosh, was it Activision that cleared 1.2 billion this quarter in microtransactions?
Yeah.
If memory serves, $1.2 billion. Would Activision have any incentive to block the installation of any other game so you'd be forced to play theirs?
Yeah, you install this, it took forever, and you're like, I could uninstall it and play something else, but I'm
not going to delete this because it's 285 gigs.
Yeah, so I'll just keep it on there for as long as I can, and then maybe I might buy a couple microtransactions while I'm here.
Right.
Might as well.
If you only can install 3 games on your PlayStation 5 and all of your friends play Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, you're more and more likely to probably start ponying up for those microtransactions, aren't you?
Of course. Because it's the only game you got right now.
Right.
So you might as well just keep buying and buying and buying.
I've got my tinfoil hat on pretty tight for this one. I don't think this has anything to do with uncompressed audio or de-optimization or lazy developers. I think this is intentional.
Oh, yeah.
I think the explosion of size from specifically Activision, I'm looking straight at you, has everything to do with increasing microtransactions. Because if you don't have enough space to play other games, you'll only play ours.
Yeah.
And if you can only play ours and you play it enough, maybe you'll start ponying up a couple of bucks for skins and unique items.
Yeah, especially since it's a game that's specifically made to play with your friends. That's what it's known for. You'd hop in, you play with your buddies, you shoot people up. You're like, oh, well, maybe I want to play this other single-player game. Nope, don't got enough space. All right, I'm going to go back to Call of Duty.
Right.
I mean,
Boy,
maybe I'll get to this game in another month or two when I'm bored with it, but I'll just stick with it for now.
Boy, I'd install the new, I'd install Cyberpunk and play that for 300 hours. But, oh, man, that's going to be 90 gigs. I'm down to like 44, and I can't delete Call of Duty.
No, I can't get rid of that one.
Boy, gosh, I guess I'm just not going to play Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I'll keep it there. That could be. I mean, Space Hogs. Yeah, they're taking up hard drive Space Hogs.
I know it's tinfoil hat, but it also makes sense, and it's the kind of crap that I would completely expect from certain game companies.
Right.
Especially when the majority of their income is now coming from microtransactions.
Right. They're making a ton of money off of that. And so someone said in the Discord, I believe, that doesn't the PS5 only have an 865 gig SSD? That is correct. But there's another thing that came out today too, talking about how the PS5 reportedly actually only has 650 gigs of usable space. So that's even
Call of Duty,
smaller.
So in theory, Call of Duty Black Ops is going to take up 50% of your game space.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot. That doesn't leave much room for growth.
Yeah.
And of course, Sony probably doesn't care because a couple years down the road, they'll be like, well, here's the PS5.5, which is going to have, extra space. And then everyone's like, well, God, I want to buy that because I don't have enough space anymore.
Laura Sill says it doesn't take anywhere near that much on PC. It still takes 185, 200, something like that. But I think there's likely more microtransactions happening on console than there are in PC.
Yeah, and I don't think they really care about that in PC because they're expandable. Like, who cares? Right. I'll just throw another 3 terabyte drive on there. I don't care.
Right. So, yeah, I don't think it's as big of an incentive on the PC to, monopolize free space. Yeah. But on the consoles, when you have a certain quantity on every single installed system, and you can take 50% of it, it's free real estate.
It's free real estate. Yeah. And the thing that's kind of up in the air, too, is that, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really researched too much about the PS5. Is it going to be easily expandable? Can you be able to, increase the drive space because they're having that proprietary SSD interface, right? It may require that you have to buy their drives if you want a bigger drive. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
So yeah, good luck, Call of Duty fans.
Yes, I know you're going to be slammed with.
I know what I won't be installing.
I haven't been into a Call of Duty for a long, long time. I think Call of Duty 2 was the last one I was really.
4 was my last one.
4, yeah.
Modern Warfare was my last one.
Yeah, no, the Modern Warfare, because when it got to the Modern Warfare and then Modern Warfare 2, I think was the last one I was really kind of into. Not Call of Duty 2.
Right, I played Modern Warfare 2, but Modern Warfare was really the last one. And I played that on the 360. I had that on console.
Wow. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I stopped playing that one a long time ago. Oh, so someone says the PS5 can use normal NVMe drives. So it is possible to expand.
It is expandable.
Okay,
but
that's
it's still expensive.
It's still expensive, yeah.
Right. It's $100, $150 to buy a 1 terabyte NVMe drive.
Yeah.
And while I know they can use standard NVMe drives, you're still talking, $500 plus I have to immediately go out and buy more storage. You're not going to make a lot of people happy that way.
No, they're not going to be. And they're just going to bide their time because like, well, I'll just hang on to it for a while.
Yep.
All right. I finally could go into my second beer. But yeah, that beer took me a long time to drink.
It did. I was actually kind of surprised. I was going to ask if you were getting dry mouth.
I was actually getting a little bit of dry mouth. All right, I'm going to do the Chardonnay Saizon, the Ceste Le Saison.
I'm enjoying this more and more. And I feel like my cheeks are a little rosy right now.
That's what a good beer does. Like as it goes down, you enjoy it more and more. That doesn't happen with John and the Pickle beers, but you know.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly slam those down.
No. We had one the other day. I went over there, and he wanted to get rid of one of the pickled beers. I was like, yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I don't mind that pickled flavor, but that was hard to choke down. It was really hard to choke down.
Yeah. Yeah, John's a braver man than I, because I hate pickles.
You don't like pickled anything?
No.
No, really?
No.
No. That's good stuff.
No.
Yeah. Oh wow. That Chardonnay actually kind of comes through.
Sorry, someone was just having a little bit of fun right outside my house. I don't know if anyone heard that.
I did hear that. It sounded like someone was like peeling out or something, or revving their engine or something.
So that wasn't on my block. That was the street up, which is the main drag.
Yeah.
And that was a good car.
The muscle car.
My neighborhood's a little bit weird because we have like broken down Astro vans and also Ferrari F430s.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have equal chance of seeing either one. So yeah, that wasn't exotic, but that was a good sound.
That was a good revved up.
That was a Euro sound.
It was a Euro sound.
It was a Euro.
It's a sports car, not muscle car.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't no Charger.
There's a lot of people who are with me saying that they love pickle things. You're in the minority, I'm sorry to say.
I don't care. I like cucumbers.
Okay, yeah.
I do like cucumbers.
And there's a few pickled beers that I had that tasted more like cucumbers than anything.
Right, and if they taste more like cucumber, I'm fine.
I'd be okay with that, yeah.
It's just once they cross that briny line into pickly.
Yeah. Nope. This one that I had was on the very briny, pickly side. Nope. It literally tasted like, I like pickles, but I don't want to down a pint of pickle juice.
Yeah.
A small sample is okay. I can deal with that. Like I can taste it, I can appreciate it, but I don't want to down a pint of it.
Yeah.
Or even maybe 8 ounces. That 8 ounces was like, that was pushing it.
Yeah.
It was really pushing it.
Yeah. No. It. I order every burger I ever get without pickles, and if it comes with pickles, I pick them off because I cannot stand them.
No. I think those pickles.
I can't stand a burger once it's had pickles on it, and I already removed them.
No, pickles make this. They make the burger.
That's how much I hate pickles.
Oh. I know the type of burgers you like because you like the Hawaiian burgers and oh yeah, we had them and they're good. I like them too. I like the sweet and savory too, but I like
sweet and savory. I really like onions on my burgers. I like farmhouse style, barbecue sauce and egg.
Oh yeah, egg,
that's
good stuff.
Yeah, but pickles.
You draw the line on that.
I draw the line at pickles.
Hey, you know what? Out of all the people I know who are like super picky about eating, just not liking pickles, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Right. That's not that bad.
I will eat most other things. Pickles is just one of the pickles and mushrooms. Can't do it.
Okay. Yeah. No, my wife does
mushrooms
not like
is even
either.
Worse.
Yeah, she doesn't like
if mushrooms are on the plate, I ain't touching a single god thing on that plate.
I'll eat anything. I'll try
nothing.
I'll eat anything. It's fine.
Right. I was out to lunch with some business colleagues one time, and I ordered a burger, and it was a Swiss burger, and specifically ordered no mushrooms. It came to me. I looked around the burger. There's no mushrooms on the burger. Yeah. I took a bite of like 6 mushrooms. I literally almost vomited. Like I had a couple of heaves.
Yeah.
Because that's my detest for mushrooms.
Yeah. That's too bad. I love mushrooms. I think they're great. No. I had these one mushrooms because like the Oregon
I'll
Coast.
eat a pickle before I'll eat a mushroom.
Yeah, circling back to the Oregon Coast. So the Oregon Coast is home to some very unique wild mushrooms that people will go out and harvest and pick.
All over Oregon. In fact, if you go to
Yeah.
Eastern Oregon, you'll often run into mushroom pickers if you go out to ATV trails and things like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So there's this one. We were at Lincoln City one time, and we went to this winery. It wasn't a winery. It was a wine bar basically.
Mhm.
And the guy who was running the wine bar was also an avid mushroom picker, like a wild mushroom picker.
Mhm.
And he was telling us about this mushroom that grows on the Oregon coast called a lobster mushroom. And it's that because it's kind of reddish in color, and it also tastes like lobster. It literally tastes like lobster.
Interesting.
It has a more chewy texture than lobster, but it did taste like lobster. It was really good. So I think there's some mushrooms out there. You shouldn't poo-poo all of them because yes, I know some of them do taste like dirt. Some of them need to be, grilled in oil or some kind of like butter or whatever to make them taste good. But there's some out there that taste pretty good.
I'm just going to continue poo-pooing them all.
All right. Hey, you know what? Can't please everybody.
Right. I'm not that difficult to please. You give me a good beer with no pickles and no mushrooms on whatever you put in front of me, I'm down.
All right.
I'm
Fair
down.
enough. We can move on from our culinary exploits.
Yes. So you posted this one, the Steam article.
Yeah.
That Steam playtest is getting a little bit of a test.
Well, okay. So before in the past, when developers would release a game on Steam and they wanted beta testers, they always had to like manage it themselves and send out keys, right?
Yeah, invite keys
and stuff like that. It was like, here's an invite key, and they'd have to keep a separate app ID, and the key ID would only go for that app ID. So when the actual game released and everything like that. So it was kind of a kludge because every time they wanted to expand their beta, they had to go back to Steam and say, hey, I need another set of keys and everything like that. So they've finally implemented something in there where they have the Steam playtest, where the Steam page literally has a request access button, where if it's a beta and you're interested in it, you don't have to request a key or anything like that. You just click the button and it automatically puts you into a queue where the developer can expand or contrast the amount of beta testers that they want to put on it. And if you're in that queue and they expand it, you're in right away.
Yep.
And that makes managing beta testing and play testing through Steam a lot easier.
Yes.
And it's not tied to any achievements on there, and it's not tied to the original app or anything like that. So it's mainly geared for just beta testing.
Right. Because I've seen a little bit behind the curtain of some of that kind of stuff, and it is messy, and it gets messy really quick.
Yes, it does. It does. And so this is something that helps streamline it. I think this is something that developers are like really excited about, especially when it comes to game development, when they want to put stuff out on Steam. And it kind of also helps circumvent the whole. I wouldn't say circumvent it because I'm still there going to be early access type people. But like when you want to stress test something or anything like that, it's going to be a lot easier to do that. Anything that has netcode or anything like that.
Right.
You're like, hey, I want to throw 1,000 people at it. Put it out there. And then people are just like, yeah, let me see if I can try it. Steam management.
So, yeah, no, that's definitely a welcome feature for probably a lot of developers because you and I, we get review codes all the time because we attended PAX once.
I still get them.
I still get them, right?
I still get them, yeah. Not that I'm complaining. I like, oh, well, I'll look at it someday, I guess.
Right. Yeah, so I've never taken any of the review ones because I feel disingenuous if I'm not actually going to review it. But yeah, we get review codes all the time, and so I was like, well, you'll get the beta release, but the actual release won't be given to you. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always just weird.
Yeah. And this is supposed to help streamline that whole process, which is good.
Right.
And I think also for people who are into like just trying new games, just testing them out, like giving feedback or whatever like that. And that's another thing too, that this will create a different page on the Steam store, and it's also an area where you can't post reviews or anything like that. So you can't be like, oh, this sucks, blah 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 blah. Well, yeah, because this is a beta test. We don't want you to do that. We want your feedback to come directly to us, not the public, because that's going to discourage the public from buying the end product. That's the reason why we're beta testing. We want you to tell you what you think is bad about it, so we can fix it before it comes out, not to tell everybody what you think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It's good. It's good.
It's good. It's good.
How's that beer?
Okay, yeah, I didn't get a chance to tell. This is actually really good. The Chardonnay notes. This is almost like a wine beer mix. We're talking about blends before. This is like pretty close because I can taste the Chardonnay, that kind of dry grape flavor. Yeah. And I still get that kind of spicy Saizon flavor in that, those kind of esters, the farmhouse esters, but it's more almost like a wine forward flavor. So if you're a fan of like white wines, this is definitely what it is. Not a sweet white wine. This is almost kind of dry.
No, I kind of like that actually.
Yeah, and then you definitely like this.
Right. I like my red wine sweet and my white wine's dry.
There, you can have a sip.
Yeah.
Have it.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like my whiskeys. I want them to be the style they are.
Yeah.
I want a bourbon to be a bourbon. I want a rye to be a rye. I want a scotch to be a scotch. And I want an Islay scotch to be an Islay scotch. And a Highland scotch to be a Highland scotch. You know, I don't like the intertwining. Like, I want definitions in my flavor profiles.
Right.
But there's actually a winery that's maybe a half mile away from me. They make an amazing white wine.
Oh yeah. There's which one is it actually?
Not gonna give the name.
Oh, okay. All right, because he said it's a mile from you.
I'll tell you after.
Okay. Because I know a lot of wineries in Salem. I've probably been to it before. I think I know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to this one 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's really good. But yeah. We got one more game news item get to.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of a blast from the past, but definitely a welcome thing to see.
Right.
For those who are fans of the Nintendo 64, there is a new clone console coming out that promises 720p graphical output and 100% compatibility with all accessories.
Yep. And
it is called the Warrior 64.
Right.
And I love that they went with the translucent plastic because that's just perfect. So this will be available here very, very soon. And it takes your standard Nintendo 64 cartridges, takes your standard Nintendo 64 game pads, memory cards, expansion slot, everything.
Everything the same.
But pairs it with an HDMI output that's capable of upscaling to 720p.
Yeah, and not just upscaling, but upscaling. I don't think it does anything. I don't think it does anything special with the textures, because that's one of the things.
It doesn't do anything with the textures, but it does sharpen the image.
It does sharpen the edges, yeah. So it's not like the emulators where it's just like, okay.
Right, where you can go hog wild, but
yeah.
But it has the standard, composite component output, and then also HDMI output on the back of it.
Yeah, so you can go absolute classic, or you can go high def. Which that'd be kind of. I mean, people who love the retro gaming type of thing would probably like this.
Right.
And it's not a ROM thing. It'll work with your original cartridges.
Right.
It's not like the little mini reboot type of things. It's an actual replica of the console that's designed to work with modern TVs.
And if you're looking for a little bit more of a modern feel, I've actually got one of the Brawler 64 controllers.
Oh, you do? You still? Yeah. Wow! Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I just bought this.
You bought it?
Yeah, this is the USB one, because you'd be amazed how hard it is to find a controller that's accurate to the Nintendo 64 for emulation. something that has an A/B button as well as all the C buttons up here.
Oh yeah, it's
that's
very hard.
6 buttons on this side, not 4.
Yeah.
They don't make those.
No,
and
it's
they
very
came out
hard.
with this, and I went modern gamepad design with analog triggers for the Z button, and L and R you can reach, and an upgraded joystick and actual C buttons, and so I bought a couple of these.
Oh yeah, because I have the.
And now I'm tangled in my headphones.
The RetroPie, the N64 on the RetroPie, it works great.
Yeah.
But it only works great with some games because some games require just about every single button on the old controller.
Right. Try playing, Ocarina of Time. And
you can't.
Right.
You can't. I mean, like some of the replica N64 controllers work fine with Mario Kart for the N64. Works fine. Yeah. Not the best, but it works fine. But yeah, Ocarina of Time, no, it ain't gonna work. You're gonna need a replica of the original controller.
You need actual buttons for throwing Deku Nuts and bow and arrow and everything else. Yeah. Those you can't do with a joystick.
Nope, you cannot.
So yeah, I saw those come on the market a couple weeks ago, and I went, I have to have one. Mm-hmm. So I bought 2.
Well, where there's a demand, someone's gonna put something out in the market.
That's right.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, that was kind of it.
Yeah.
We still got like
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Come on, hiccups! Don't hit me now.
Oh well, that's
that stout kicking in.
That stout is kicking in.
Yep. All right. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about? Because we are out of news at this point. As much as we tried to stretch it out. And get into the weeds.
There was some beer news that we kind of skipped over, but it wasn't. It was.
Well, we can talk about the Brewdogs one. I don't mind tossing that one.
That one was
kind
of interesting. Yes, that one was interesting. So it was kind of a Willy Wonka moment for Brewdogs.
Yes,
they are releasing within their Punk IPA 12-pack I don't think they said how many, but a
24-karat can.
A 24-karat can, a gold can, which if you find it, you can go on a tour of their brewery. Great. Yeah, I believe it's like all expenses paid. You get a ticket and everything like that, because I think if you actually drove there, they will let you have a tour of their brewery, like just about any brewery. So I think the whole golden ticket thing is obviously the trip involved. Like no matter where you pick this up, we will pay your way to get there. Because if you paid yourself, of course they're gonna let you come in.
Right.
Yeah, of course. Like there hasn't been a brewery in existence where I went there. It's like, oh yeah, come in and check it out. We'll give you some samples. Like it's every place.
Yeah.
How many
ones that aren't open to the public? I've just shown up and
hey,
can I have a sample?
How many brewery tours have you been on? I'm
losing count.
There's a lot of them. What was your best? The best?
Oh, Elysian was pretty good. I did one in Elysian.
Okay.
Up there in Seattle by the waterfront. I've done one at Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
I've done trying to think of what else I've done. I've done all the ones here in Salem.
Yeah.
Especially the ones you walk into and there's the brewery.
Yes, right. Oh yeah, of course.
1859 saw when they were still open. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the most interesting one I was on was the Deschutes one. Because
I've been to Deschutes.
The Deschutes one was very interesting because they not only did they show their system and get up, but they explained why it's custom made and how they brought it there. That was pretty interesting. But the best one I went on was actually Widmer, because not only did they have at every single area of the brew process, they talked about the grains, and they talked about the hops, and they talked about the milling, and they talked about the mash and everything, and then every single stage they would take a break, everybody would get a sample of beer, and they would have a little food pairing with it. I'm like, this is awesome.
I always appreciate the food pairings.
Yeah,
I've only had that happen in a couple different places.
Here's our stout. Here's
here's a little right. Here's a little beef jerky or a cracker with a sauce on it. That's amazing with this.
Yeah, it wasn't a big thing, but it's like these two go good together. Like take a sip of that and try that and see what. I thought that was amazing. And that was like probably the best brewery tour I've ever been on, because they actually were like, explaining the process in depth and giving you examples of like the end product and like these two things go good together, you know?
Yeah.
And then at the very end of it, they're like, grab a pint of whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, awesome.
Yeah. I want to do some more distillery tours because those to me are, I know they're similar, but for me, distilleries are just more interesting. It's more interesting to me.
I've been to several small distillery tours, but I've never
been to several small ones. Yeah, I've been to Cannon Beach.
I've never been to a big one.
Yeah,
I've never been to a big distillery tour. That would be kind of interesting. Oh no, wait, I take that back. I went to Bacardi in Puerto Rico.
I guess the Jameson one in Ireland is like off the chain.
Is it really?
Like it's amazing.
Yeah, the Puerto Rico one for the Bacardi one was interesting. But it was kind of disappointing because at the end, they gave you little tiny samples, of all the things. But then they're like, "Oh, please buy our bottles." And I'm like, "Man, everybody buys your bottle. Bacardi's everywhere.
Right.
Come on,
it's
come
Bacardi.
on." This is
I'm
Bacardi.
not getting something here that I can't get everywhere.
Yeah, give me something that's super special or everything like that. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like in Puerto Rico, and we did the Bacardi tour.
Nice.
Rum distilleries are the worst. Oh my god, the smell. Yeah, it didn't smell great. I thought it was just Puerto Rico, but maybe it was the I don't
know. So another Steve chimes in and says Tectonic's tuning VW shop in Sheridan, Oregon is exactly like that. They will give you a full tour if they are not busy, whether you want it or not.
Oh yeah, in Sheridan, huh? Yeah.
We actually were shopping for houses in Sheridan this last year. That's one of the places we were looking.
The Jack Daniels tour in Tennessee, that would be pretty interesting. Now, I heard that the Jack Daniels tour is actually pretty cool. But because, and this is a weird fact, the county that Jack Daniels is in is a dry county. So they can't give you any samples.
Right.
But at the end, they'll give you like Jack Daniels candies or Jack Daniels themed this, Jack Daniels themed that. No alcohol in it, but it tastes like Jack Daniels.
Right.
Now, I don't know. Novella Hub can probably quote me on that. I don't know. But that's what I heard. I've never been on it, but I've talked to people who had been on that, and that's what they said.
Yeah. Let's see. What's your take on braggots? Stopped by the Viking Braggot Company in Eugene back in February, and it was great. I love meads and all kinds of stuff like that. Braggots are pretty good. They're a very specific type of mead. But I've enjoyed quite a few of them. I have not been down to Braggot. The Braggot Co. in Eugene.
I've not been to Braggot. I've had some of their meads before, but
Portland was supposed to be getting a meadery. I don't know where we were at with that because we talked about it like a year ago, but then all this hit, so I don't know if they're actually open or not. Haven't been up there for ages. But no, I do enjoy a good Braggot. Love meads. Let's see. You ever go to the McMinimans Kennedy School? I have not personally been there. I know a large number of people who have been. I have not been to the Kennedy School.
I've been there several times. I've actually spent the night there.
Yeah.
I actually was just at Edgefield. Well, not Kennedy School, but Edgefield.
The Kennedy School is one of the ones I have not been to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's nice. It's like, well, it's an old school that they converted into. I mean, I like because they have like, they have the detention room, which is like the cigar bar. So it's like all that they have like the scotches and the whiskeys.
Smoking in the boys' room. That's what it should have been. It should have been a converted bathroom.
What it is. Yeah. I like it.
Yep. Someone earlier up asked if a specific B550M motherboard from ASRock was going to be supported for the Zen 3. Yes, all 500 series boards are going to be basically plug and play with Zen 3. If you have a 400 series board that's a B450 or an X470, those will need a BIOS update, and that BIOS update will be coming sometime in January. So if you have a 500 series board, you're pretty much good to go. If you have a 400 series board, you got to wait just a little bit.
Not too bad.
Yep.
I went to grade school there. How old is
Kennedy
this guy?
School. Yeah.
He went to grade school and oh my gosh.
Because that's been a McMinimans for like 35 years.
It's been closed down for a while.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys older than me probably.
What are your plans on videos about smart home? Still looking forward to it. Greetings from Germany. Hello. Oh yeah, Peter. I know you, Peter. You're always here for the live shows. Thank you. Thank you for watching from Germany. I didn't realize you were in Germany watching all my live shows. That's awesome. But my goal for a smart home is an unplugged smart home. And that is one that's not reliant on Alexa or Amazon or Apple or whoever the hell else. I don't want cloud services to turn on my lights. I want my local server to turn on my lights. And that's increasingly hard to find. I've been looking at a number of different options for that. I've considered going Z-Wave. I've considered quite a few different things. In reality, I was planning on doing it like the week I moved in, like heavily investing. And then the more I started looking at it and started diving into it, the only local controllers for that were OpenHab and there's another one. I tried them both, and they're both fairly intensive learning curves. And at the time, I couldn't put the time into learning how to actually do it because unlike most like smartphone apps where you go, oh, I want to control my lights, and you sync your light to your phone, and like here, I have a smartphone app that I can control my lights here with. So here, we'll go white and we'll turn the color back down. Or I can dim them.
You want to keep it. Yeah, you want to keep it as local as possible.
Right. I want to keep it as local as possible. If I lose internet, that app doesn't work, which means my app is not controlling the lights. It's coming from somewhere else, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Home Assistant, OpenHab and Home Assistant. Those are the two that I looked at. Mm-hmm. Basically, on both of them, you have to get into the nitty-gritty of programming each individual device within your home. They don't get added intelligently. And there's actually a fair amount of back-end work that has to go into making even a simple light switch work or a color change bulb work. And you have to design the UI interface for every single room and every control panel that you want to have. And when I was looking at it in, November and December and moving into our house, I was still working full time, and I went, there's no way in heck I have time to learn that. But now that I'm full time, I may, give it another whirl, see what else is out there. But I want it to be 100% unplugged. I want it to be a 100% self-hosted, non-cloud reliant smart home. That's my goal. So I don't know if I'll achieve that. I haven't so far. I have Wi-Fi bulbs all over the place that I control, but I don't actually control them. Some server in Indonesia controls them, which upsets me.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Right.
All right, there was a question that I thought I could answer, and in fact, it's addressed to me. Steve, will Saizon yeast work for mead? Yes and no. Yes, it will work because the yeast will ferment the sugars that are in the honey.
Yes.
But Saizon is typically considered a farmhouse yeast, which means yeast that are gathered from the area, the farm that it comes from, the region that it's gathered from. And typically, if it's not cultivated to be high yield, it will probably top out at about 6.5%, 7%.
6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7%. You're not going to get a very high gravity mead.
And typically with meads, you're aiming 8 to 10.
Yeah, you're gonna
one of those.
Yeah, you're gonna want, if you want to make a mead, I would recommend getting an actual mead yeast because those are going to be more robust. They're going to like survive in a higher ABV environment. And a lot of the Saizon yeast that they sell at brew stores only go up to about, I think 8%. I think is like some of the highest ones I've seen.
Even then, that'd be pushing it.
You could use it. I've actually used Saizon yeast with like a cider, and I've gotten like a 7% cider, and it tasted interesting. It wasn't great. It was
farmhouse cider.
Yeah. Well, no, I've actually had. Okay, so I had an actual traditional farmhouse cider where we picked the apples and grinded them, crushed them, made juice out of them, and then just let it sit and ferment on its own. Didn't add any additional yeast. Didn't do anything to it. Actually, wasn't bad. It was pretty good. So that was a real traditional farmhouse cider. If you want a particular flavor, then you can use a particular yeast, and Saizon yeasts are French typically, so it's sort of like a French countryside type thing, and it will embody those type of flavors at that point. But I wouldn't use it for a mead though. What would I recommend for a mead yeast? I guess a mead yeast. I guess. I don't have a specific one in mind because I've never actually made mead before. I've looked into it.
No, mead is one of the ones that's on my list because that is more my style. Like I love beer, and I've talked about this multiple times. I love beer. I love all kinds of beer except farmhouse. Screw farmhouse.
No, farmhouse is okay because the reason why farmhouse, it's mixed. When they say farmhouse, it's from the region it's made from.
It is.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Really what it is. And that's when you see anything that says farmhouse on there, you're not going to get a consistent flavor. You're just not. Unless you buy it from the same place over and over again because it's the yeast from that flavor.
Right. But in general, I don't like farmhouses, but I love pretty much every other beer that's out there. Mm-hmm. Except pickle. But I am at my heart more of a spirits and cocktails kind of person. I love craft cocktails more than I loved craft beers.
Yeah, there's a lot more control in that aspect. Yeah,
right, exactly. But it's all the reason I decided to go beer for the channel was I can drink a lot more beer on a channel than I can cocktails.
True.
You can only make so many cocktails, and then you're kind of out of options.
Unless you get a 12% bomber.
Right.
Then
unless
you
get
only get one.
bomber,
Yeah, then you can only drink one.
But I can have 3 variants of the herd of turtles across 3 shows. Can I really explain an old fashioned 7 different ways? Whereas I can have 40 different stouts.
Yeah, of course.
And so I just went, if I'm going to make multiple hundreds of videos, it probably should be about beer instead of about cocktails.
And you still appreciate beer too, so it's fine.
Right? I love beer.
Fine. Yeah, of course.
But I love cocktails. Right.
So someone's asking,
that's the variant.
Would turbo yeast work for mead? Yes, of course. Turbo yeast would work for mead. There's a proprietary yeast out there called Pac-Man yeast, which is supposed to be able to withstand up to I think 20% to be able to go 20%. So there's some yeast strains out there that are very, very high yield ones, and Saizon is just not that typically, but yeah, the turbo yeast is, Pac-Man yeast is. It's just what the yeast will. When you think of it, yeast eats sugar and poops out alcohol. That's what it does.
At its basic form.
Right. So think of it as yourself. If I was to live in an environment where I ate something and I had to live in the poop that I made, how long would you live? Not very long.
Right.
Unless you were like Rambo, right? It's like I thrive on poop, So
he gets poop sucked to his butt all the time.
So you want the strongest yeast.
That's a weekly occurrence. So
when
he's got poop on his butt.
When you think about it,
dangler out of that.
You're having the yeast that is in a beer that's the strongest ABV possible. You're drinking Rambo yeast is what you're drinking right there, because he's able to live in an environment where he can just live in his own filth for as long as possible.
Yeah. Champagne yeast is one of those. You can get, 14, 18% off champagne yeast.
Yeah.
There's some other hardy yeast out there that'll
champagne yeast,
yield high double digits.
A lot of people, when they want to go high ABV, they'll just use straight up champagne yeast.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But enough about my cat's rear end. Yeah.
But can you cheat and get Chinese yeast ball? I don't know what that is. All right. Moscow really Mules, yeah.
Actually, I just got some new mule mugs.
Oh, nice. Those. Yeah. Oh, I like those.
Yeah.
I like the handles on those. They
Yeah.
kind of look like axe handles or like
Yeah.
axe heads or whatever. Are they real copper?
They're real copper.
Not copper line, solid copper.
Copper lined. They are 100% copper.
Nice.
Yep. I got 4 of them. So.
Yeah.
More about Rambo.
Alcohol is the poop and CO2 is farts. Yes.
Something like that.
More about Rambo, but yeah.
Greetings from Germany. Hello.
Hey.
From Oregon.
Germany's just tuning in when we're almost done here.
Yep. Oh, any other questions? We got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left.
A couple minutes to chill. Otherwise, we're going to start talking about whatever.
Yeah. Oh, somebody else got those mugs too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got them from Pier 1 because Pier 1 was going out of business. And so...
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, so my wife went to the clearance sale and I think snagged those for like $4 for a pair.
That's pretty good.
Like those are like
copper mugs?
$30 mugs.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
She goes, "Do you want 1 or 2?" I'm like, 2. And what's really funny is she hates the amount of glassware that I have because I have all kinds of glassware. She doesn't let me go to IKEA by myself because I will come home with like 6 new types of glassware.
Right.
It's a sickness.
Yeah.
And I need them.
All saying that they're real when they start to patina. Like you get the kind of grayish green type of stuff. They start to turn green a little bit.
Looks like Jeff's beer is going to make it to the after party. Almost. I may finish this.
Probably. Yeah, he's going to make it. Probably.
Thoughts on the FX CPUs? I try not to.
Right.
Look, here's the problem with the FX CPUs.
You talk about those. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah. The FX CPUs were dead on arrival in 2011, especially when Sandy Bridge hit in full force. And the bulldozer and steam pile or pile driver architecture never materialized into actual performance. In fact, it actually lagged behind what they were promising for performance, which was multi-core, multi-threaded, simultaneous workflow. It didn't end up working that way because they shared a floating point core, and so a 4-core, 8-threaded CPU was actually closer to what they called an 8-core CPU was actually closer to a 4-core, 8-threaded CPU and performed worse than Intel's equivalent 4-core, 8-threaded CPUs at the time, which were like the i7 2600 and things like that. The FX CPUs have not aged well at all. They are abysmally behind in single-threaded performance. Now, I say that, but it all really matters what you expect out of it. For gaming, you'll still power a GTX 1050, maybe a GTX 1060 just fine. If you're at 1440p, you can actually probably up to a GTX 1070, RTX 2060. You're going to be okay. Is it the greatest performance ever? No, there's no way it's the greatest performance ever. It's not going to hold up to any modern CPU. But at the same time, can you game at 60, 75 FPS? Absolutely. So would I go and pair a 3070 with it? No, there's no way I would pair a 3070 with an FX CPU. Upgrade your board first, you'll see a way better improvement in performance. But if all you're looking for is 1080-60, you got a fighting chance still with an FX CPU. There you go.
Oh, back.
Yep. The FX 6100 is okay, but the i5 2400 is better. Yeah, the i5 2400 does score better. 2500 is better. If you have a generation board from then, a P65, a Z68, find yourself an i7 2700K on eBay for $30 and get yourselves 4 cores and 8 threads and overclockable and get a little bit more life out of it. Phantom 2 Black superior to FX. I'm hesitant to say yes. I think they were on fairly equal footing, but Yeah. I think you could flip a coin today. I think at the time, Phantom may have had a slight advantage, but yeah. I'm overclocking a Q6600 to 3 gigahertz on a G41 MSI Mobo. That's impressive. That's definitely impressive. See if you can find yourself like a Q9600. At least get yourself slightly more modern. In fact, what are those going for today? That's what I want to know.
That'd be interesting. While you're looking that up, I have there's an actual Star Trek question.
Ooh.
Are you enjoying season 3 of Discovery? I don't know if you've watched season 3 yet at all.
I have not.
I have watched the first couple episodes, and I have to say I'm enjoying season 3 more than season 2 because they kind of took the whole thing in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
I have to say it still doesn't feel like Star Trek. It just doesn't. But as a straight
I've heard that a lot.
As a straight sci-fi show, it's interesting, and I like it. It's kind of an offshoot of Star Trek. And if you I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't watched season 3. They take it outside of the norms of Starfleet.
Right.
And there's a reason behind that. So I find it interesting in that aspect, and I'm only in 3 episodes, and I find it interesting for those aspects, but well, I'll see why. Well, I have to watch more of it.
Here's a great question from Ram, our buddy down in Australia.
Oh yeah.
Tacos or waffles?
Tacos. All the way tacos.
See, I'm heavily split on this one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because we live in taco nirvana.
Oh,
if
yes,
you want
we do.
tacos,
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, we got tacos.
Oh, we got tacos all up the wazoo, yeah.
Right. But you give me a good chicken and waffles.
They're hard to come by around here, though. Good chicken and waffles.
Good chicken and waffles is hard to come by.
So
I struggle with that question because we have some of the best tacos you'll ever find on the West Coast.
Oh yes.
All day long.
All day long.
But I don't know that it, in my mind, like the best taco I could find here would stack up against the best chicken and waffles I've ever had.
I think it would, because chicken and waffles is a very niche thing. I know several people who are like,
yeah,
whatever. I do like chicken and waffles.
You know what? Tacos. I'm gonna go tacos.
Like pretty much everybody, like, I love tacos. Everybody loves tacos. I mean, it's gonna hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't like tacos.
Right.
I could probably like do a 1 out of 10 survey and find at least 3 or 4 people who do not like chicken and waffles. Be like, oh,
that's true.
Waffles. Yeah.
Yeah, because so this was 2 years ago in Vegas, almost 3 years. Good Lord, we're in November. Almost 3 years ago in Vegas. We introduced a couple of people to chicken and waffles.
Yeah.
Now we introduced those same people to tacos, and they're like, "Hell yeah, I'm on board for tacos." You introduce a couple of Brits to chicken and waffles, and they're going, "You put what on what?
On what?"
With like a
you get a sweet and spicy syrup on top of it.
Yeah,
the best.
Yeah.
I have this blueberry.
There's a restaurant in the Venetian that makes my favorite chicken and waffles I've ever had.
Oh really? Yeah.
And it's like KFC, like the best like fried chicken you've ever had in your life. Like KFC on steroids kind of thing.
On top of a nice crispy golden waffle.
Mixed with a crispy golden Belgian waffle.
Yeah.
That is like this thick.
Yeah.
And that really, really super thick crisp on it, but also super pillowy inside. Like, oh my God, it was fun. It was amazing.
That is good. Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, I think your last argument slanted me. I'm going to go tacos because there's so many different variations of tacos.
Oh yeah.
And you give me like a quality chimichanga.
Oh yeah.
Like,
let me tell you about my experience.
I'm gonna melt in your hands.
Let me tell you about my best experience with a gordita. So
that's sold. I'm gonna go get a chimichanga tomorrow.
So I went to our local Cinco de Mayo, which we have a big Hispanic community here. West Coast, big surprise, right? And so we were walking back from it, and there was like this old grandmother-y Hispanic lady just in her own little cart, making fresh gorditas, deep frying them right there, and putting her own fresh stuff right in there. So it's hot, crispy, fresh.
Yep.
The best thing I ever had. It was amazingly delicious.
Yeah.
And I've never seen her there again. Never seen her back. Like, where did she go? Oh, it was so good.
Where did the gordita elf go?
Yes, where did she go? It was so good.
Come back.
And it wasn't just the raw ingredients. It was also the hot sauce that they put on top. It was just like, it was amazing. It was very good.
Yeah, chimichanga better than taco. Absolutely agree. Yep, but it's one of those things like, what is a taco? What is a burrito? What is a chimichanga? It's all the same ingredients. It's just how you prepare it and how you finish it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. But there's actually a place near me that makes some amazingly good fish tacos.
Yeah.
Like the only taco I've ever had in my life where I'm going, you know what? I kind of want a Corona right now. Like, I feel like I should have one.
So, hey, check out John's Hops and Brews, where me and John and my brother and my wife and a few people, we did the best taco and Mexican beer pairing.
That's true.
We did that.
That's true. I forgot about that.
That was fun. I ate way too many tacos that day.
Yeah. When you cook the meat, then cook the tortillas in the grease.
Yeah.
Actually, a 100% fresh corn tortilla, there's nothing beating that.
No.
There's not.
No.
Yep. All right. Chicken and waffles is a thing. You can either Google it or meet someone from not Oregon. Yeah, I am kind of in the minority here of liking chicken and waffles.
Chicken and waffles is not just an Oregon thing. It's an, I don't know.
No, they were saying you have to meet someone not from Oregon to get chicken and waffles.
Oh, I see. No,
which I agree with.
There's several places in Oregon that still make great chicken and waffles. They do, but it's
you got to go to Portland though.
Okay, yeah, that's true, but it's not as prevalent. I would say.
Which Portland is one of the best international food stops you can make.
Oh yes,
if you want food from anywhere.
All the food carts they have around here is just so many.
The food carts right off a second.
Oh yeah, yeah. They dismantled the 10th and Alder one. That's not there anymore. That was sad. That was a monument to food carts.
Yes.
That was sad when they went away. But
there were like 50 of them in there, and there was literally any continent and any country you want to eat from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have it. Oh yeah. And like all kinds of fusions too.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I don't think the one in Salem is open anymore. They had a food cart mecca in Salem that closed down not long ago.
Well, they still have the yard down there.
Yeah, the yard is still there.
The yard is still there.
But there was one in just off State Street, I think, that they were doing for a while that they don't do anymore.
Questionable comments. Oh, questionable commands. Screen Door has a solid chicken waffles. Yes, I had the chicken waffles at Screen Door. I also had their pecan candied bacon as well, which is very good.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it is almost 10 past the hour. I think that's
a good stopping point, I guess.
I think that's where we're going to call it a show.
I think so too. I think we can go take a short break, and then we'll see how
jump
long
on the after show. If you are part of the Patreon or the Float Plane. I don't think I added the Float Plane link again.
Yeah.
But it will be there. Suddenly the hiccups are coming back. Let's see if I can get through the outro. Thank you so much for joining us here on episode 157 of Talking Heads, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you haven't done so already. Follow Steve into the bushes, I guess, because that's about the only place to follow him.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing. Make sure you stay tuned if you enjoy Home Lab stuff, because oh man, do I have a fun one coming up tomorrow. Probably later in the day, because I need to film an outro to it still, because I was so ticked off I couldn't film an outro to it. But yeah, lots more content coming very, very shortly. I'd ask you if there's anything to plug, but other than Hops and Brews, I don't think you have anything socially that you need to plug.
Maybe someday I will. I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
Get on it.
I'll try
it. Steve's game review channel, you know?
I used to do game reviews. That's how I got into. I used to do game reviews. That's how I got into E3 several years back. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know.
El Polo Diablo reviews. You do game reviews with the side of tacos. I'd watch.
I'll review a game while I eat tacos. I'll be like, oh yeah, this El Pastor is delicious. It goes great with Portal 2. I don't taco and video game pairing. Never been done.
the empanada is a lie.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching this one. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.
All right. See you guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye.